Ladies and gentlemen, this is take two. The man's had internet technical difficulties, too many Pornhub tabs. You know how it goes, but we are back now. We got it figured out. And as I said earlier, I am joined right now by a truly prestigious guest. He is here to join me to break down the Week 6 slate in a way that nobody else can. This is a man, you can see him on Roto Grinders, on RotoUnderworld, on Yahoo Fantasy, Mr. Eric MccLung. Welcome once again to Manz Maker.
Take two. What's up, dude?
There we go, dude. I like that. That's not how I remember you sounding, dude. You're starting to. It's like I'm looking in the mirror.
No, to be perfectly honest, I've been walking around trying a man's accent all day, and what's up, dude? That's the best I could come up with. So, I don't know how you do these shows with these glasses on, but I have my pair of blockers. I'm sure some of the folks watching are also devoted Manz fans and have their blockers on as well. Thoughts and prayers to Eli Manning and the Giants fans out there. We're here at halftime. We've got the funeral for Eli Manning kind of in full effect. So it's pretty bad out there. But, hey, you know, they drafted Saquon Barkley. So if you can throw the ball in the second half, because it's looking rough out there.
Yeah, dude, did you hear Saquon Barkley? Not only is he a generational talent, but he's a generational spirit. Have you heard about this?
I know, man. That's going to be like the #1 Halloween costume this year is Saquon Barkley, generational spirit, I guess.
That's right, dude. You get tree trunk legs, and then you wear like a white cloak, and then you put an Eli Manning doll on your back. That's the costume.
The thighs are very important. I mean, if you've been watching this game, just Troy Aikman is bananas about the thighs on Saquon Barkley and making every excuse possible for Eli. It's pretty bad, but just awesome to be here on the Manz Maker. Certainly far more entertaining than anything that's going to happen in the rest of this game. Been a Manz fan for a long time, going back to your very famous audition video for the Swolecast, which is also on Roto Grinders Friday night. The Roto Underworld game night with myself, Matt Kelly, and Ben Gretsch. We follow the Swolecast 9 p.m. Eastern. It is just like the Swolecast, it is a premium show on Roto Grinders. However, if you get in there at 9 p.m. Eastern, when we go live, anybody can watch that. It's free, free stream. After that, we go behind the paywall. But definitely check that out. So we'll be hitting that up and talking even more DFS there tomorrow.
It's an interesting business model. It's actually, I have the same one. People don't know that this is up for 69 minutes, and then it goes behind the paywall after that. So definitely check it out as soon as possible. Let's jump right into it. Sure. I feel like now that we got this up and running, I have a new lease on life. Week 6. Do you approach, when you first see the salaries come out and you think about the slate, are you approaching it from a cash game mindset? I don't know about you, but me, I start going to, what are these crazy stacks I can do that are going to be sub 1% owned? But you strike me as a guy that's maybe a little bit more fundamental in your analysis.
Yeah, I mean, I eat the chalk most weeks in cash games, and as for tournaments, what do we got? What do we got going on there? Coors Light, nice. I forgot my spiked seltzer from the awesome tweet and the pictures that you put out, but no drinking for me this evening. But no, I'm definitely a cash game guy for the most part. Even my tournament lineups pretty much revolve around the guys that either having cash or light, but just wasn't able to get into cash. So yeah, I pretty much eat the chalk every week. And so when the chalk hits, I do well. Thankfully, it's happened more often than not this season. So, pretty good from that standpoint. So it's going to be tough this week. I know everybody wants to play Todd Gurley. I think you can definitely do it on FanDuel, but DraftKings, 10K, that's really, really tough. Even in tournaments, to have the upside, to get multiple guys who are going to score 25, 30 points. 10K, that's a big anchor weighing you down. So Gurley's going to be really, really tough on DK. FanDuel, you can make it happen. Cameron Brate's minimum price there. So, there's some savings to go around. But, that's pretty much what we're looking at heading into week 6. There's a lot of interesting receivers, though, that I think can make it happen with if the value doesn't open up later to get Gurley. We could play McCaffrey. We could play Gordon. I like Joe Mixon. I think he's in an interesting spot. Yeldon is going to be, I think, really popular again this week. So it's kind of how things are looking in the very kind of early stages, just looking at the running backs.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've seen it week after week in the Millie Maker and in cash games. You got to have two of these stud running backs, not necessarily stud price, but a running back that's going to get 20 plus touches in a game. We saw James Conner last week. People had soured on him a little bit, and then he was in this gorgeous plush matchup. Obviously, the Falcons giving up a ton of catches to running backs, and he smashed. So we need to find these guys, and it sounds like Yeldon kind of might be this week's kind of James Conner, of a guy that you might get a discount to the premium dudes, but could get the amount of touches to get you that value that you need. Shout out to a few people in the chat. We got Jason Antilles. We got Trevor Marshalls. What's up, Manz Coin? That's right. We're still selling Manz Coin lids. Hit me up. Jason Antilles says, what's the highest owned bad chalk of week 6? This is a good question. And you did just mention TJ Yeldon. Is he a candidate for that? Is there anyone that's getting buzzed that scares you?
Yeah, I mean, Yeldon, the concern, it's on the road in Dallas. So, I mean, you like it from, it's indoor, free of any sort of weather on a fast track. So you like that. However, Dallas, in terms of the way that they want to play, is to, really bring the pace of the game down. So, Yeldon really last week got bailed out by receptions when they were in super garbage time late in that game. So, from a rushing angle, Dallas is doing pretty good. Yeldon, if you look at playerprofiler.com, however, in terms of evaded yards and juke rate, he's like top 5, I want to say. I don't have it pulled up right now, but he's like 4 or 5 in each of those categories. So been very elusive, but, we just don't know how the game is going to play out. But for 6,400, I like it. He's going to, even in that negative game script, hopefully those receptions will bail him out again. A guy that I think is a little interesting, because, you're looking for those guys that could get 20. He's going to hopefully get 20 carries, because in terms of receptions, I don't think it's going to happen. But Chris Carson at only 4,400. This game is in England. And I think what's kind of crazy is the Raiders, they left Thursday night. They're leaving tonight, if you're watching live, to get on a plane for over 10 hours, and they want to play Sunday in London. So that, I think, is kind of crazy. Seattle's already there. They left Wednesday night. So they could be the Raiders are already bad. The defense is already really bad. So if they're jet lagged and just fatigued from, leaving kind of late in the week, Carson, I think, is a good play kind of regardless. But if the Raiders are dreary and just downtrodden, then, he could go nuts. I think, there's some competition, although I guess Rashad Penny is pretty much gone at this point, but there's competition with Mike Davis for touches in that backfield. But Carson has been the guy leading him in carries and in snaps. So for 4,400 and not a ton of value, I think I'm okay with him as my third running back. I want to play 3 running backs in cash games pretty much every single week. So Carson, if I can, push up those or get to 20 carries with him against the Raiders, I like that.
Let's and obviously we can't play kickers on DraftKings, but my Uncle Manzanelli, had a video out earlier today. He's very excited about this London game because one Mr. Sebastian Janikowski's in a revenge game.
That's
so you're
true.
telling me he's already over there in Piccadilly Square having Team Crumpus getting 10 hours of sleep while the Raiders' Amari Cooper is watching Lilo and Stitch on a transcontinental flight. This seems like a smash pot for Seabass, for Carson, and all the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking, and a lot of others are thinking about the revenge game for Marshawn Lynch, but yeah, we totally have. That's the genius of the Manz. The Seabass revenge game is definitely going to happen. So yeah, I like that, and that's super interesting. I just hope we see some. I guess it goes against Chris Carson, but I hope we see a little bit of vintage Russell Wilson, because I had him a lot in tournaments last week, and that. The 3 touchdowns were cool and all, but just not a lot of yards, not a lot of attempts. The rushing is just like non-existent at this point. So, but hey, in cash, let's, they're to Seattle. This is what they want to do. So let's take the 20 carries with Carson.
Okay, we got a question in the chat. Now, I'm going to spin this question. Trevor, I very appreciate you engaging with the show, but this is a DFS show, so this redraft question, get that shit out of here. But we can frame this in a DFS. Here, fine. I'll toss you a bone. Don't drop Geo. Just hold on to Geo, Trevor. But let's talk about Mixon, because it does sound like Geo could be out again this week.
Yeah, Geo is out. Yeah.
Oh, he is officially out? Okay, thank you, Eric Schefter's there. Eric Rappaport's breaking news. Gio is out. In Joe Mixon last week, they said, oh, we're going to ease him in. He's going to split time with Mark Walton. Then he got 20-plus touches. Obviously, that would seem to be the case again this week. He is 77 or 7,500 on DraftKings. He provides some nice builds, and you can get a bell cow guy. What are your thoughts on Mixon, both cash and GPPs?
Yeah, I like him in both formats. 7,500, as you mentioned. Pittsburgh is a vastly different team on the road. That's a narrative that's been talked about at length, so we don't have to go into that. But Cincinnati, they're I think the last time I looked, they were like a 3 or 3.5 point favorite at home. This offense is performing very well. They have lost some guys like Eifert and whatnot, but hey, that's just more, I think, touchdown equity for Joe Mixon, potentially more short range targets. We've seen them be willing to line him up at receiver, so you got to like that. And he's pretty much a lock for 100 yards from scrimmage, I would say. So you got to like that. He hasn't hit the 100-yard bonus yet on DraftKings, which is important, but he's gotten extremely close. I believe in 3 games he's had at least 85 rushing yards, I want to say. And then whatever he gets on top of that in terms of the receptions, we know those are going to happen. So, yeah, definitely got to like that. 7,500, it plays really, really well this week.
Okay, well, we got a luminary in the chat. We have one Mr. David Kitchens.
Oh, nice.
I assume making sure you aren't saying anything bad about former Roto Grinders employees. Yes, so just be careful, Eric.
Yeah.
Be careful what you say. No, but he's calling us out. He says, "Is this the chalk show?" Dude, he's calling you a chalk donkey. Here, I'll throw you a bone, David Kitchen. Everyone is so done and burned by Tevin Coleman. But now you're telling me that Devonta Freeman is sitting out practice. He has another injury issue. And you're telling me Tevin Coleman in the highest over-under on the main slate at 5,400 with public sentiment going against him? That's the guy I'm very intrigued by. Where do you think he falls both raw projection-wise and popularity-wise by Sunday?
I think the issue there is Ito Smith. We've seen Atlanta. I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're going to get a split backfield, whether Freeman's in or out, whether Coleman's in or out. Ito Smith, he's a guy we liked a lot of Player Profiler. We ranked him, I think, higher than most in dynasty rankings. He's a very good. He's a very good player. He was a big-time college producer. He's going to cut into that workload. So this is a game I think is pretty much all about the receivers. Winston's going to be very popular. Brate's going to be very popular. Julio Jones on DK is extremely cheap. He's going to be very popular. So those are going to be the 3 guys that you're going to want to run in cash games. Coleman, I'm not too crazy about it because Ito Smith, we've seen him poach touchdowns. He's a factor, can be a factor in the receiving game as well. So, no offense to you, Mr. MccLungs, but I'm telling you right now, your hesitation about him as a cash play is getting me all chubbed up about him as a tournament play because you are a good proxy, I think, for the sharp cash game players. You guys are going to hone in on the best plays. And then me, I'm just over here. I'm like the Matrix. I'm dodging these chalk plays, and I'm plugging in the Kyle Juszczyks and the Tevin Colemans. People forget that I finished 331st in the Millie Maker last week. Nothing to turn your nose up about. 250K people. The Manz is up there in the mix. I know you got a shout out as well on the DraftKings podcast because you did really well in their listener league.
That's right. I put that same lineup. Dude, here's the trifecta. I put that lineup in the Millie Maker, in the DK Listener League, and the 69 Challenge that I crushed Davis Maddox. If anyone missed that on Twitter, the 69 Challenge, which I will propose to you at the end of the show, I put up a 200 burger, and Davis lost with like 170 points in a head-to-head.
Goodness.
That's just what happens when you go against the Manz. Okay, excellent. Let's Jason's asking in the chat if I am devastated that Kyle Juszczyk is not on the main slate. And I'm telling you, he would have been a viable pump play if he was on the main slate. Tell me I'm not crazy.
I believe he leads the 49ers running back core in air yards. So that's something. I should mention also I've got the Manz shirt on as well. So I'm fully representing here. My camera's kind of come up above. But Juszczyk, I mentioned it. I think I tweeted it pretty much right away when McKinnon went down that their top receiving back is Kyle Juszczyk, and that is not a joke. He's a better receiver than Breida, who's going to be out for, it looks like, a couple games, I guess. And certainly Alfred Morris, who is, he's definitely not a receiver either. So Juszczyk, that's, he was a factor in Baltimore as well. So, people laugh, but he's definitely a good receiver.
Let's be normal on the little drummer boy beating the DFS, just beating the Juszczyk drum. But this week, dude, I'm just sitting back. I have my feet up on my desk, okay? Because everyone's talking about Juszczyk's for me. I don't even have to do it, dude. All the big counts are on Juszczyk. But look, he's not on the main slate. Right. Let's stay on track here. Now, I have seen you doing these hashtags. Baker, hashtag SCZN. And I think it means Saison. I think it means Baker Saison. But tell us what that means. I assume it has to do with Baker Mayfield. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. They tell me it means season. SCN means season.
Oh, okay. Oh, it makes sense. It's like disemboweled the word, and then you changed it to a Z, dude. It's like,
yeah, it's sort of like on the vanity license plates. I'm sure you've got, some Manz Life or something on the back of your back of your ride. So that's pretty much what's going on. But yeah, you mentioned Baker Mayfield. I think he's a phenomenal pivot in tournaments. I think in terms of a sneaky shootout type of game, I think the Chargers and Browns, I think definitely has that potential. The betting market still doesn't respect Cleveland. Baker Mayfield, and get buckled in, because Baker Mayfield is going to be hot fire over the next 5 weeks. You take a look at that schedule and circle on your calendar week 9. Plays Patrick Mahomes, Mayfield. This is the next Brady, Manning. I'm saying it now. These are the 2 best quarterback prospects that have come around in like a decade. I mean, these guys are phenomenal. And as long as the teams continue to build around them, they are going to be throwing down in AFC playoff games for many, 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 many years. So week 9, tell the wife, tell the kids, the in-laws, the grandparents, whatever, you are not going to be around week 9, Sunday afternoon, because you're going to be enjoying the very future of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes against Baker Mayfield.
Wow, dude. Now that is a spicy. Even the chat is like, holy cow, we just got a Manning and Brady and obviously, I think everyone's on board with Mahomes being quote unquote transcendent.
Sure.
But Baker, I agree with you. It feels like it's coming. I've been very encouraged by what I saw. And this is me putting on my film grinder spectacles here. He's fearless, dude. He will make throws downfield. He will push the ball downfield. He will throw into tight windows. And the schedule just hasn't set up for that quintessential welcome to the NFL Baker game. And now you're telling me he's at home against the Chargers pass defense that I believe is ranked 21 in the league fantasy points against the quarterback. So it's a plush matchup there. It's going to be them traveling across the country. Right. Okay, this seems like a prime spot. It feels like the week that the Baker, Njoku, Landry stack blows up.
You're missing one key piece there. Antonio Callaway is only $4K on DraftKings. That's a great price. Baker Mayfield was making Rashad Higgins a thing. He had I think 60 yards in back-to-back games. Rashad Higgins. Okay, so Callaway is going to step into this role. And I think he's a phenomenal stack, very low owned with Baker Mayfield this week. Only, like I said, only 4K on DraftKings. He looked really, really bad in that game against the Raiders. And, they were going to dial his playing time back down and blah, blah, blah. That didn't really happen, but it's certainly kind of out the window now that Higgins has been ruled out with a knee issue. So, I mean, you mentioned how the Chargers, despite having some good corners in terms of reputation, haven't really performed anywhere near that level this year. They are traveling from the West Coast to the Eastern time zone, and we've seen historical numbers where that has been a bad thing. The Chargers are also one of those teams where just kind of, they just kind of crap the bed on occasion. So traveling to Cleveland, to face Baker Mayfield, that's not going to be very easy for them. So Callaway, plus all the guys you mentioned, I think are all very much in play for tournaments. Landry, maybe in another week would be a cash game play, but with Julio being under 8K on DraftKings, I think you have to play him. So to play Julio and Landry together, plus some of the running backs that we already talked about, I don't think that's possible in cash games. But yeah, in tournaments, get your Browns in there, throw in a like a Keenan Allen, bring it back with a Charger. I like that a lot. Everybody's gonna be playing Winston and Mayfield. I think it's like $200 less than that. So everybody's going to be tempted just to click on Winston over Mayfield. So I think you're going to get him at really, really nice ownership.
Yeah, I will be curious to see as the week progresses. Of course, Mayfield is going to get the Manz maker bump, which is notorious for affecting ownership. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Jason, this is a good question in the chat. Best value wideout this week. Last week, obviously, turned into Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, Inquiriez, Jamon St. Brown the third week. But do we have an equivalent punt receiver that unlocks the slate and allows us to jam in everybody we want?
I don't think there's one to that level, but I did mention Callaway for 4K. So in tournaments, I think that makes sense. It looks like things are going well for the Rams receivers that had concussions, which was Cooks and Kupp. If either one, certainly if both are out, then Josh Reynolds for only $3,900 probably enters that equation. But as things, like I said, it's sounding pretty good, like both are going to play, so that may not happen. The cheapest guy I'd feel comfortable with in cash games is probably Chester Rogers for $4,500. Ebron is trending in a bad direction. He's on the injury report with like 3 different things. Didn't practice today on Thursday, so that is a big concern. So for $4,500 rather for Chester Rogers, that's probably about as cheap as I want to go in cash games. I'm just looking up and down the list here. Chris Godwin for $4,400 in tournaments, I think definitely works as well. Sanu's $4,800, but I don't think we're going to play Sanu with Julio and cash. So, as a tournament pivot, I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense. Sanu's upside is usually a little bit limited. So, but if you want to go above 5K, John Brown.
I was literally just going to ask you about him because he's very interesting. I mean, obviously a great tournament play. Right. I mean, he's top 5 in the league in air yards.
Number 1.
Insane. Oh, number 1.
Yeah, he leads DeAndre Hopkins by 1 yard in air yards.
Yeah, so obviously getting deep shots downfield. Joe Flacco seems to like him. No one is going to tell you that's a bad tournament play. Excellent tournament play. But is he a good cash play?
The way this is kind of shaping up, I think you almost have to play him in cash. I think that's okay. You'd rather it be at Baltimore. It's at Tennessee. I mean, they're not super intimidating. If he gets, if Malcolm Butler tries to run with him, I like the advantage there for John Brown. 14 targets last week, only caught like 4 of them, which isn't great. But the air yards you mentioned, he's a leader in that. So, we've seen most weeks that you need a pretty big number in cash games, and if Brown rips off just like 1 or 2 plays, certainly if he gets in the end zone, he's going to pay off that $5,500. So I like that quite a bit. I think the only concern though is Tennessee's offenses just look abysmal. Outside of the kind of outbursts they had against the Eagles, this offense has just looked atrocious. So you're a little concerned, even though Joe Flacco was second in the league by volume in terms of pass attempts. You just don't know if he's necessarily going to have to put the ball in the air that many times if Tennessee just comes out and they're dead, which is possible. But, yeah, I think for the price, it just kind of makes sense, and he's in my sort of preliminary cash game lineup. Like I said, if you want to play Julio at $7,900, you're going to have to go kind of cheap with these 2 spots. So I think John Brown and certainly Chester Rogers, I think that if you make those your 3 cash game receivers, I think you're in pretty good shape to play some decently priced running backs with Jameis and Brate.
Yeah, it does seem like the Rams trio and the concussed guys are trending in the right direction. Right. They did practice today. So I don't know if Josh Reynolds is going to be there. Let's talk, though, about another trio of wide receivers. They are what I would call the poor man's Rams, and this is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there has been value to be had there, but all of them are very interesting, different profiles, and they're all pretty cheap. So we have Westbrook at 5K, we have Keelan Cole at $4,800, and then we have Moncrief at 4,400. And I'm pretty sure, if I recall this correctly, Westbrook is leading in yards. Moncrief is leading in targets, in air yards, and then Cole, I believe, is maybe leading in catches. Like, it's a complete clusterfuck. But if you can land on the right guy, there could be some value there. What are your thoughts on that trio?
I mean, Dallas's secondary has played really well. Byron Jones is phenomenal. He is very good. I believe last week was the first time he has ever been flagged for pass interference. He's just a really, really good corner. So, you're a little concerned with that, whether he's on Cole or Moncrief. I believe Westbrook leads them in slot snaps. So I guess that's where I would go. The only downside there is Westbrook's the most expensive, but at $5K, that's not really a big deal. If a lot of people end up playing Yeldon in cash, which I have a feeling that they will, then Westbrook in tournaments, you can do it. I don't know. Are they going to get in a shootout, with Dallas? Probably not. I mean, Dak, it's hard to even judge him with as bad as these receivers are. So I'm not ready to completely bury Dak yet. But in this game against Jacksonville, I don't know. I just don't think Dallas is going to be able to counterpunch whatever Jacksonville does to the point where they're going to need to throw a lot. So that would be my concern there.
I think if I have to call my shot, it feels like a Keelan Cole week to me. Moncrief was getting a ton of usage. They were force-feeding him the ball last week. He was really inefficient. Like you said, the Cowboys have been better, I believe, with perimeter wide receivers. Keelan Cole keeps popping in the Hermsmeyer air yards by low model. He's there again. I see him there pretty much every other week, it seems. So Keelan Cole feels like a guy that might be 3% owned and could end up being, a good bet for 10 targets this week.
3%. That's your kind of play. So, I would go for it. Maybe bring it back with Zeke Elliott, because if Dallas is going to score any points, it's probably going to be him. And for only $7K, that's a nice value considering how many, he hasn't looked good as a receiver, but whatever. It counts for a full point for anything he does pull down. So, maybe a Keelan Cole, Ezekiel Elliott stack. I don't know. It definitely is going to be low owned. So, that's right up your alley, though.
I love watching you squirm with these thin plays. It makes you so queasy, the uncertainty, and oh man, I just want it. I want it all.
I'm a chalk donkey, as Kitchen said. So
that's right.
I'm guilty as charged.
Let's talk. This is a question I like to ask each week, and again, this is obviously going to veer more toward the tournament side of things. Everyone knows about this Tampa Bay Bucks game. Everyone is going to be on it. And we talked about Cleveland, San Diego. I do agree that's a good candidate. But what is another sneaky shootout game that, let's say, could go over its Vegas total by 10 points?
Wow. I knew this question was coming. That's why I mentioned the Cleveland game. But let's take a look. Josh Rosen has actually looked really good. In the box score, it hasn't happened. It doesn't look good if you're just boxing. But in terms of like actual throws and stuff, he's looked pretty good. And we've seen this Minnesota defense collapse at times and look really bad. So do you have the over under on Arizona, Minnesota? That's tough to say together. Arizona, Minnesota.
No, I can pull it up for you.
I would think
that's interesting.
Yeah, I would think that would be interesting. We saw David Johnson get in the end zone twice. Otherwise, the usage was still like just. It's like reminiscent of Todd Gurley from a couple years ago. It's frustrating. So maybe that one. Let's see.
If we do go with that game, are we? Diggs and Thielen have obviously been on fire. I have been seeing people talk about Patrick Peterson perhaps slowing down Diggs. Is that a concern, or are these guys, the volume is so good that it doesn't matter because defenses don't matter?
Yeah, right. They don't matter. I think that's fine. Thielen and Diggs, does it – I don't know. These guys are just so good. And Kirk Cousins, remember all offseason, Kirk Cousins, he's never supported a wide receiver one. Never supported one. That's all we heard. And sure enough, now he's supporting the wide receiver one. And another guy, I don't know, Diggs is like top 10, top 5, and I don't know where he ended up at the end of this week. So, throw that out the window. That's another busted bad narrative. But Cousins is really, really good. People just don't want to admit that he's a borderline elite quarterback. So yeah, Thielen, Diggs. I mean, even the best corners get beat, and certainly that's going to happen against best top receivers. And Thielen and Diggs are exactly that. So I wouldn't sweat that too much. They're going to be low owned anyway. Patrick Peterson or no Patrick Peterson. So you'd want to bring it back with David Johnson, of course. But we've seen Christian Kirk, and he's only 4,200 now that I'm looking at it. We've seen Christian Kirk pop up here and there. Like I said, Rosen, he's looked a lot better than the box score. So I think that's the way to go. It's unfortunate, Larry Fitzgerald. I just don't think he's healthy. He just, it's just not happening for him. So, we'd love to play Larry Fitzgerald, but that kind of looks like almost like a lost cause at this point. So. Yeah, I'm worried about that one. I don't know if any of these other games, maybe Carolina, Washington, but I don't know. Alex Smith just, that was a really bad performance. I think you can play Cam Newton in tournaments every single week because he's always a big threat to run for two and throw another one. So, if they could go over, maybe if just Carolina just completely smashes them, but I just don't know what you would do on the Washington side.
Yeah, dude, everybody's banged up for them except Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed, another guy popping up on the buy low model back-to-back weeks. And yeah, it does seem like Reed is due for a big blow-up game. So that might be the thing that's tough about Cam is he hasn't had that quintessential, man, that's my word of the week, quintessential. He hasn't had that classic blow-up game yet.
Right.
And he's shown a high floor. I don't think he's had less than 15 or 16 DraftKings points. But as far as who you play him with, it's getting really, really tricky because you're going to have – I don't know if Olsen's going to play this week. But
supposedly he's going to be back. We don't know how it's going to go, first of all, because he's had this reoccurring broken foot issue. So, I mean, he might try it and just he's gone by the first quarter. But, yeah, it sounds like he's definitely going to try to play – Funchess has been a little disappointing in terms of, I don't know. I'm a Funchess fan, so I was hoping for a little bit more than what we've seen without Olsen. So, that's a little tricky. But I mean, you can always play him with McCaffrey. I mean, you were kind of sweating it out if you played McCaffrey. He had no targets in the first half last week, so I still like him a lot. I think you definitely play him in cash this week for what is it, 8,300. So. But Cam at 6,100, I guess if you're gonna pull, if you're gonna go with this narrative and play Carolina, I think you would just stack Newton and McCaffrey. And McCaffrey scored his first touchdown last week, and that was a reception. So if that happens again, and then you need Newton to run like one or two in to really have it hit. So I guess you just go with McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's definitely the safe play. It's such a mess. It does feel like one of DJ Moore or Curtis Samuel could really emerge. It's just guessing when and how because they're still playing Torrey Smith. They're still playing Jarius Wright. Whereas if they could just roll out Samuel, Moore, and Funchess, that's a sick three wide configuration there, but it's just not happening right now. But Samuel looked electric. Moore looks like his yards after the catch. He looks like Golden Tate out there. They're an exciting offense. The weapons seem to really be coming around. And if we can be a week ahead on when that all comes together, you're going to be in for one of those 45-point Cam weeks.
Yeah, it is really depressing to see their snap counts and how much run Torrey Smith gets. It's like, he's sort of entering like the guy Brandon LaFell. He's sort of like Brandon LaFell territory at this point. It's just like this old receiver who pops up every once in a while, but by and large, you just want him off the roster. So, like LaFell kept the wraps on Tyler Boyd for multiple years, and then we have Torrey Smith doing it here to these young, promising Carolina receivers. It's like, just kind of. Get on, let's move on. Let's get rid of this guy and play some of these kids. So, it stinks. You would like to see one of these guys pop up, especially DJ Moore. I think there was some optimism that out of the bye week that he would be more incorporated, but we just see more Torrey Smith, and it's not great.
Yeah, let's we got another question in the chat. Jason, I don't think we've touched on this game at all. He's asking, and this is a little bit of a Homer Yinzer question from Jason here. Pittsburgh versus Cincy, Big Ben and AB about to go on a run. Hang on real quick. I got a Harbs coming at me. Manz streaming at the same time as Thursday Night Football may not be optimal strat. Hey, Harbs, the NFL streaming their Thursday night game during Manz Maker might not be optimal. So why don't you go tell Goodell to air his game? Also, technical difficulties. But
who's watching that game?
Who's watching that game, dude? Seriously,
is it over?
It was over before we were born. Let's Jason. Well, let's answer his question here. Pitt Cincy, that feels like it's flying under the radar. Everyone's always worried about Big Ben on the road. Divisional games between these two, I feel like they can go either way. You know, they can have the shootout game or they can play the smash mouth, run the clock type game. What are you expecting here?
Yeah, well, we did talk about Mixon a little bit, right? That was in this take two instead of take one, I think.
That's true.
Yeah, so Mixon for 7,500, I like that a lot. He's I mean, for the amount of touches you could project for him, he's probably cash viable. Certainly in tournaments, he's interesting. Tyler Boyd at 6K, that's probably still underpriced, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if you could squeeze him into cash games. Dalton, I mean, he's looked really good. So 6,300, don't mind that. Vance McDonald was a huge letdown last week, and for only 3,400, and I don't think anybody's going to play him. So, you could get him. I think it's super low ownership, and we've seen time and time again that the failed chalk becomes a great tournament option the next week. If McDonald was seeing plenty of opportunities before this, so I don't mind that. It's just Pittsburgh's such a different offense. On the road. So that's the main concern I would have. But I like Mixon a lot. So if I was going to invest in this game, Mixon is definitely the way that I would want to get exposure to it.
Yeah, I'm going to put on my tournament hat here real quick. Let me just rotate it around. Let me get my tournament hat on. What I like about a lot of these players is a lot of them disappointed. Last week we talked about Tyler Boyd, started the season so
Boyd's
hot.
Another example of that.
Vance McDonald, super hyped up last week, didn't deliver. Yeah, even Juju became a trendy pick over AB. Of course, AB smashed Juju, a little disappointing. So the contrarian in me likes the idea of going back to some of these guys in good offenses, getting volume that now people feel burned by because they're victim to recency bias, but not the Manz. Right. The Manz sees all the angles. So yeah, I do like some of those plays.
Yeah, another thing working in Boyd's favor is the cornerback for Pittsburgh. Completely shut down Julio last week. The name is escaping me here. It's not in my notes.
I don't know defensive players.
He played for the Browns. Somebody in the chat, can they help? Hayden. Hayden completely iced Julio Jones last week. So it's very possible that he's going to be on A.J. Green. And that could free up Tyler Boyd to see an influx of targets. So, him, Vance McDonald, guys that were pretty popular, but let people down last week. Juju, you mentioned as well. That could certainly just kind of run back a tournament lineup you had last week with with Steelers and Bengals. Try it again this week and see what happens. I think it could pay off. If it was in Pittsburgh, I think these plays would be much more popular. So you could capitalize on some low ownership and some recency bias here.
Let's I feel like I never talk about defenses on the show. They always kind of become an afterthought, but if you do want to finish high in the tournament, you are going to need to get one of those defenses that gets a pick six, a turnover, strip sack, what have you. I feel like normally I've just been going down to the cheapest viable play. Last week I had a lot of Bills at home versus the Titans, and then I also had some Bengals sprinkled in that really helped me out. But are there any defenses that are jumping out at you in, let's say, maybe on the cheaper end?
The cheaper end is pretty rough, to be honest with you. The three that I like are the Ravens at 2,800. They're on the road, but they're against the Titans. We've seen Mariota outside of that Eagles game just look atrocious. He's throwing interceptions and just throwing the ball like literally straight up into the air at times. It's looked really bad. So the Ravens on the road, 2,800 at Tennessee. I like that. I mean, if you could just play Khalil Mack as like an individual player for 2,000, I might do that. If I could just play him at like the minimum salary at defense and just plug him in there, I think I would do that. So, I mean, he's going to tee off against the Dolphins and Tannehill. So for 3,300, I don't mind paying up for the Bears there. And right above them, 3,500 is the Texans at home. Josh Allen, the fraud quarterback, is just the gift that keeps on giving. You know, he's the analogy or comparison I have for him is like, you know, when you play Madden and you're the quarterback and you just like slide back into the pocket for like really no reason. That's what Josh Allen does a lot of the time. He's just like drifting away like for no reason and just ends up in these horrible situations, mechanically throwing the ball or just taking unnecessary sacks, holding the ball forever. You know, he's very Tim Tebow-esque where, you know, he needs to do it on the ground. So it's it's pretty bad. So Texans at 3,500, I don't mind paying up for them either. So I think this week you do have to pay a little bit for defense because you want a decent floor. Some of these cheap options are just, I don't know if there's one that's popping to you.
Well, I will say you really started to twist that because I asked you for your favorite pump play Ds and you gave me 3 of the top 5 most expensive Ds.
Well, the Ravens are just outside, I think, the top 5.
No, they're 5th.
They're 2,800.
Oh no, you're right. I hadn't scrolled all the way.
They're 7. They're 7.
Here, so, I'll give us the cheap one.
Give me one because I've actually struggled with this. I don't like to pay that much for defense at all. So trust me.
All right, why not the Cowboys at home for 2,300 versus Bortles? I know I was just talking about those receivers, but as we've seen, Bortles can throw for 400 and have 2 back-breaking turnovers. Yeah. And I do think the pace of that game is going to be slow and not be a lot of points. So if you're giving me not a lot of points and the Bortles on the road factor, to me that looks like the cheap play that I want whenever I can't pay up for the other ones.
Yeah, and Dallas does have – I mean, they definitely have pass rushers. They've got, you know, and we talked about the corners and, whoever, you know, if they give those receivers trouble, then that pass rush can definitely get to Bortles who, has been – very generous. So, I guess you could do that. It would kind of – I guess the issue is if you're playing Yeldon in cash, you don't want like that negative correlation. Although, you know, as you said with Bortles, I mean, maybe I guess maybe it could work out positively if, say, the Dallas defense puts Jacksonville in such a negative game script that Bortles ends up throwing it a lot to Yeldon and we get bailed out by those receptions again. I guess that's how those two could sort of work together. So, that's got me thinking. I like that. Only 2,300. Screw the negative correlation. If it helps me gets me another player. You know, if I don't have to play Chris Carson in cash, if that savings gets me there, then I think I like that.
Okay, let's. I want to keep you outside of your comfort zone. We'll start to wrap up here. Give me a Millie Maker special. I'm talking about a guy less than 5% owned that could bink you the Millie Maker. That's what we're all here for, Eric.
Oh boy, less than 5% owned. That is tough. Let's take a look. Well, do you think Callaway is going to be under 5%?
That's close. I bet Callaway. He would end up in the 5 to 10% range would be my guess. But okay. I'll let you do Callaway. I
like Callaway. I like Callaway a lot. Chris Godwin could definitely fit that bill. He could be the guy that could go under own maybe in Tampa. So I like that one. I'm just kind of going up my list here in terms of price. Rodgers, I think, is definitely more of a cash play than anything. Yeah, John Brown's definitely going to be over that. I think a lot of people are on to him. So
I'll give you one.
Definitely like that.
Do you know? I know you're talking about Khalil Mack, but do you know who we haven't heard from in a few weeks that is capable of a monster game?
As a defender?
No. I'm saying we were worried about Khalil Mack on the other side of the ball, but Kenny Stills is still out there. And look, the thing about it's interesting you say that about Khalil Mack being a one-man wrecking ball because it is true. If you take him out of the equation, their pass rush has been pedestrian. So even though he can wreak havoc, I still think there's going to be some chances for some deep shots here. And yeah, I feel like Kenny Stills is a Millie Maker special kind of guy, someone that
I got one.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is like a one. I don't think anybody is going to play LaShawn McCoy.
Oh, now we're talking.
So $5,500. He's been like a ghost like all season until last week. They finally fed him. The Buffalo defense has been pretty freaking good, and if they can just keep this close, they're going to give LaShawn McCoy over 20 touches. Mentioned Josh Allen is putrid, but they do script, especially early in games. They script a lot of these little short behind the line of scrimmage type of things. So McCoy can, I think, benefit on that. He had on playerprofiler.com, which we do our own game charting there. I believe he had 9 evaded tackles, which is a huge number. So, nobody's going to play him on the road, but they're going to be indoors on turf. He's super, super motivated, I think, to probably get out of there. There's been a lot of trade talk, especially, getting reunited with Philadelphia. I think he would be more than happy to get out of Buffalo. And the best way to do that is to put on a show and have a good performance. So LaShawn McCoy, $5,500. And yeah, as long as they keep it close, which is, that's no guarantee. But again, that's why we're talking about tournaments here. No guarantee. But if this is like a one-score game most of the way because the Buffalo defense has played so well, then yeah, he's going to get over 20 touches. And if he can rip like 1 or 2, get in the end zone, yeah, I like that.
Look at that, dude. And you didn't even seem squirmish talking about that play. As Jason in the chat says, Man's bringing Eric out of the top closet. And we also have another comment. Do you know this individual, Elizabeth M, says, Eric, I love listening to you talk about men all night.
I believe that's my wife.
Oh. Yeah. I believe this is the first time that a wife has joined us in the chat. So, dude, that's a prestigious honor, dude. She can't let you out of her sight.
That's right. Yeah, she's got to make sure that this isn't like I'm on like some, I'm on some like weirdo webcam site, not the Manz Maker, but one of these more adult-oriented type of things here. So,
well, now that I know your wife's tuning in, Elizabeth, what's up, girl? What's up? Dude, this is like the surveillance show for you. You got David Kitchen, one of your overlords at RotoGrinders, tuning in. You got your wife tuning in to make sure you're not doing any funny business, dude. Like, your boss at work, is he in the chat too? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe Matt's in here. The Podfather. Shout out to Matt Kelly. Maybe he's surveying me too. Yeah, we got one of the honchos at RotoGrinders. We've got the head honcho here at the house. All eyes on me.
What I didn't tell you is this is actually a sting operation. And, there's a camera there, camera right there. And yeah, this was it was an intervention. It was an intervention to get you out of your chalk donkey ways, to embrace the contrarian GPP, to live the GPP life like I have, dude. Once you free yourself from the tyranny of cash, life just becomes that much sweeter, my man.
That's right. I'm going to take a second mortgage out. I'm going to max enter the Millie Maker with all these LaShawn McCoy 150 entry lineups.
Sprinkle a little Keelan Cole, a little Kenny Stills in there, and we'll see you in the Bahamas.
That's right, man. All these terrible wide receivers, we'll throw them in with McCoy as well.
Oh my goodness, you cash game guys! Oh, you're condescending. I can't project him for more than 4 touches, so he's not usable. All right, we're gonna wrap up, and as loyal fans of this show know, we wrap up with the 69 challenge. I would be very offended if you were not familiar. But I must ask, are you familiar with the 69 challenge?
Oh, of course. I've been here since like the first 69 challenge. So yeah, of course, that's what we're here to do. The only question is do I eat the chalk and throw Winston, Brait, Julio? I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. So, maybe I got to, I've been talking up Baker. I've basically taken his measurements for the yellow jacket here. So maybe we got to go Baker and Callaway here. I don't know.
This is where I mess with my opponent's head because this is the thing. If you go super chalk, obviously you build up a higher floor, but I'm putting in a tournament lineup there.
Yeah. See, the advantage for you is you're gonna have Todd Gurley because you have those punts.
Bullshit.
So you're playing Gurley.
No, bullshit, dude. And I want to talk about this because last year Adam Levitan's tried to call me out and say like I wasn't playing. But the optimal way to win the 69 challenge, from my perspective, is to build a Millie Maker tournament team, a stack that goes off. I'm telling you, the studs and duds thing doesn't work because those studs don't go off with 100% hit rate. In the second one of those 10K guys doesn't go off, my lineup sunk. So I need a I don't think you can get a 200-point score with a studs in like 3K duds kind of guy. Last week, why am I giving my strategy? No, but my point was I mess with my opponents because if you do go super chalky, I can lap you with a tournament lineup. Or if you get too aggressive, you might just screw yourself, and then I could beat you with just an average score. So you're gonna lose sleep at night thinking about that.
That's true. Yeah, that's tough, man. You're playing like 3D chess here. This is yeah.
And just what I do, dude. I'm gonna pick my favorite lineup like I did last week. Put it in the Millie. Put it in the DK Listener League. Put it in the Manz 69 Challenge, dude. And I'm just gonna sweep again.
Hey, it's I mean, you're on fire. It's tough, man. I played Matthew Stafford in cash, and so eating that chalk, you can see how bad it backfires. So Vance McDonald, all these bad chalk plays. So
I'm begging you to play Julio against me. I'm begging you to play Winston against me. I'm begging you to play Cameron Braid against me. Do it.
I'm almost guaranteed to play Julio. I don't know. I could play Baker. I feel pretty good, okay with that. But Julio, I don't see any way to get away from Julio. Braid I probably won't play, to be honest with you. But I could go Baker. I could go Baker over Winston definitely. But Julio, I don't know, man. I don't think you can get away from Julio. I think he's definitely getting in the box.
All right. Well, whatever you do, it is sure to fail, but it's nice to watch you try to figure out how you could possibly win. But for Pete Manzanelli, for Eric MccLung, he is the host of Roto Underworld's Game Night. That's every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Roto Grinders. Please check that out. Like he said, you can check it out for free for a few hours before it goes behind the dreaded paywall.
You're watching the Swolecast anyway, so stick around for Roto Underworld Game Nights.
Make an evening of it. Who cares about your significant others? Tell them that you need to watch 6 straight hours of internet fantasy programming.
Seriously.
Also, you guys check him out. I know he's got some articles up on Yahoo Fantasy, Numberfire. This kid is everywhere. I remember when he was just an up-and-comer, and now he is on all the premier sites. Eric MccLung, it has been a pleasure to watch your rise. It has been a pleasure to have you join me on this Thursday night. Thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure, and let's get after the 69 challenge, man. I feel pretty good. I'm gonna eat the chalk with Julio, but I think I got you.
Okay. Oh yeah, real quick, Jason. Davis did not shout me out. That was part of the terms. I have too much pride to write him on Twitter, so please at him, Jason. I'm giving you my permission. Say, Davis, you chalk donkey. You owe Manz a shout out. You have my permission to tell him that. All right, guys. We will see you next week for another edition of Manz Maker. Check out Eric's stuff. Good luck this week. Peace.